crisis on the horizon in Germany when we talk about Germany turning off its nuclear power plants. As a matter of fact, Mr. Wolf said that he thinks it's an opportunity. It's not a risk. Our next speaker says that the Energiewende, or the change in energy policy here in Germany, is going to be one of the main drivers of intelligent infrastructures. With no nuclear energy to draw upon, Germany's power grid will have to be smarter than ever in using, saving, transmitting, and storing. So I'm happy to welcome the CEO of Schneider Electric and Zone President here in Germany, Ms. Rada Rodriguez. Thank you. Good to see you. Thank you.
Yes, hello. I understand we have a lot of people outside looking also at us now, so hello to everybody outside of this room as well. Dear ladies and gentlemen, my presentation will also be around smart infrastructure, and I will try to give you our view around this very, very complex topic. So I think the first question we are raising is why are we discussing? Why about smart infrastructure? And we think that the best explanation for this, why this topic is so important for all of us, is the sustainability and the sustainable development of our society. And just to pick up some topics which are linked to this sustainability, we know that in most of the countries of the world, we still need to increase our energy consumption in order to increase our GDP. Maybe that's not the case of Germany, but that's the case of most of the countries. At the same time, we all have a commitment to reduce the CO emission, and there is a broad consensus around this need to reduce the CO2 emissions. Resources, we know that they are every day more and more expensive to get, and by that we have a shortage of resources, generally speaking. And two topics which we see also increasing everywhere is the urbanization, the growing of the urbanization, and by this also the increasing of the traffic. For Germany, very important, and also for other mature countries, the renewable energy with all the complexity which is bringing in the distribution grid. And then, of course, the IT technology, which today reached a maturity, which brings us to a lot of web services and e-sales. So some of the major drivers for the smart infrastructure, what I said is everything linked to mega cities, to smart cities and the metropolitan solutions. And also linked to that is the e-mobility. As most of the people know, the German decision and commitment to the Energiewende is also something really driving the smart infrastructure. And the topic which is coming more and more and which is preoccupying us intensively is the so-called digitization. Everything which is linked to the integration of the different services in voice, data and image, everything linked to smart mobile devices, also to entertainment, and of course everything linked to e-commerce, which we know that it is the trading form which is today increasing most of all the trading forms. Of course, the industrial applications which is supporting and enabling this e-commerce is also a very important aspect. So let me please just some couple of minutes to spend around this digitization and why we believe it is so important. We are firmly convinced that this digitization will be definitively the best of the time for very many companies. At the same time, it could be the worst of times for other companies which are not embracing this digitization. In fact, what is digitization? It's nothing else than the conversion of all the information we have today into a digital form. So it can be shared, it can be stored, it can be processed and transmitted in real time. And there are a lot of enablers and trends of digitization. I would like just to mention some of them. And of course, we are all talking about big data. We know that we are producing today in a week the same amount of data which we produced in 1 year in 2002. Also, another big driver and mega trend of this digitization is everything linked to the mobility. Just to mention the huge amount of apps, millions and millions of apps which are downloaded every day. And also the development which we have around the cloud. There are some studies saying that 2/3 of the all business applications in 2015 will be cloud-based. And something which we see also every day is the development of the social media with figures which are just unbelievable, or would have been just unbelievable for only some years ago. So this digitization is a key for the smart infrastructure. And what we see is that we don't talk about the smart infrastructure as something happening in the future. It is in fact something which we have already around us in a bigger or smaller development, but it is already happening, and we see it in very many aspects of the society. Smart grid and energy management is an important part, and I will talk a little bit more intensively about that. But there are also a lot of other aspects to smart and intelligent infrastructure, like the traffic control, the cloud services, the whole thing around the e-learning and e-government, which I will not, due to time, spend too much in my presentation. So electrical energy, we say it is key. Whatever we will do in terms of infrastructure, smart infrastructure, in terms of combining the electrical infrastructure with the IT infrastructure, we always come to the point where we see that electricity is key. So for the data communication, of everything which I tried to explain with the digitization and the development, of course, of data centers, they are all linked together and to our desire to be more and more efficient. And this efficiency, which is really required also in order to be able to find solutions for the bigger amount of data which we are vehicling every day and every second. So smart grid is a real a key element for this reliable energy supply. Without this reliable energy supply, all the development in the IT and in the electrical infrastructure wouldn't be possible. So also when it comes to the data centers and the handling of big data, cloud computing, etc., is not possible without this reliable energy, which then it's also directly linked to the existence of a smart grid. So just to remind the definition of the smart grid, it's really this unique combination between the IT infrastructure on one hand and the electrical infrastructure on the other hand, linking and interconnecting all actors from the generation and to the consumers. And by this creating also a way to balance the demand and the supply over a really increasingly complex network. well, we know the smart grid. We know theoretically how it evolves from a top-down grid to a very interactive smart grid. This is just another illustration of everything which is linked to the smart grid. From the consumer side, which is becoming more and more a prosumer, so producing and consuming at the same time, and up to the generation part. On the transmission part, the grid is pretty smart, pretty interconnected. I think the big challenge, and we all know that the big challenge for the future will be around the distribution part and the development which is just now starting around the consumer and the prosumer part. This is just to give an example of some applications Schneider Electric did in Germany. We are on the EUREF campus in Berlin, working together with our partners to establish a living lab, where we want to demonstrate the problems and the solutions around the microgrid, where we're discussing about renewables, we are discussing about storage, we are discussing about demand response, and all the energy efficiency linked to such a solution, so including all the different actors, the main actors of a smart grid on a microgrid level. The aim of this project and the aim of this living lab is also to demonstrate to our people, to our citizens, what is coming in terms of smart grid, what this means for them, because very often it is extremely theoretical. And by having this living lab in Berlin, we make it visible for the citizens, for our people, and also for the students which are studying at that campus at the TU Berlin. This becomes now very visible and understandable. This is just one of the many applications which Schneider Electric is working at in order to bring its contribution to the development of smart infrastructure. A key element which we believe is extremely important to have in mind when we talk about infrastructure and about the development is energy management. Energy management as part of the efficiency and as part of the sustainability, which I was talking about, and which we believe it is at the central of the smart infrastructure. Well, it's said that the best energy is the one we don't use. At the same time, it's not only the answer is not so simple, because we want to keep our industrial base in this country, and in also other many mature countries who want to keep their industrial base. There is these magic figures of 30% of saving through energy management. It is found, the 30% in all the literature, but also we could demonstrate it with our own measurements in our own pilot project. And this amount of around 30% of savings, which we can do through an active energy management, of course will decrease the pressure of, just for example, the extension of high voltage networks. Network automation, intelligent substations, these are some very concrete things which are happening today around us in order to make the grid smart and to enable smart grid applications. And of course, the remote control of the renewable energy generation. Other elements of energy management, which we have also examples in our company, is, for instance, the cross-site energy management, which become very important for big end users, industrial end users, for instance, in the steel industry, but also other type of end users who are owning multi-site facilities, and when they want to compare what is going on in the different sites. And we have at Schneider Electric an action called just Schneider Electric Action, where we are connecting all our industrial sites to energy management system, and we can in real time see what is happening in all our producing entities. Another example, which is very important for energy management, and I believe it's one of the, let's say, best examples we have when we want to talk about the link between the information infrastructure and the electrical infrastructure, is what is happening around the charging station, the charging infrastructure for electric vehicle. So because on one side, it is the, of course, the electrical charging, but on the other side, and increasing in importance, is what is happening with the billing, with the accounting. So these are really, this is really a very illustrative example of the link between information infrastructure and electrical infrastructure. This is a little bit difficult to read, and it's not the purpose either. It's mainly to give some examples of this very complex interaction around the e-mobility infrastructure, where we need a lot of applications, starting from a very fast charging of in 30 minutes, going over charging times of hours when we are doing 2-3 hours when we are doing our shopping at the shopping mall, and then to charging times of 8 hours when we are at home or where we are in the offices. And all these applications are very different and are creating, or the need is for different solutions for these different applications, where we see again the link between the electrical development of the grid and the information grid. Smart data centers, it's also a topic which is central for us at Schneider Electric. It is linked to the sustainability. It is directly linked to the digitization, to the big amount of data we need to handle and we need to manage. And we believe that the whole development of the data center will go more and more in the direction of the efficiency. And when we talk about efficient data center, it is important to have in mind which architecture we are choosing. So for us, the Rada containment system is a very efficient architecture. Facility modules, advanced cooling solutions, they are all part of, or big enablers, let's say, of an efficient development of data center. Also, not to forget about the scalability in order to guarantee maximum of efficiency. And the data center is more important for the efficiency will be the way we are managing the data center, and especially the way we are operating the data center, and how we integrate this operational part with the rest of the facility management and with the smart grid outside. So just to illustrate some important parts of the smart data center, it starts with what type of cooling system we have. It goes of the power supply of the rack system, and then of course what I said before, what type of management, what type of services we are providing, what type of security for the data and for the people, and all this linked together in one single architecture, which at Schneider Electric has the name of EcoStruxure. This is my last slide to conclude around smart infrastructure. We have started with the question why smart infrastructure, why it is important for us. And I said in the beginning of my presentation that we are putting the sustainability at the central of this topic, and that we try to develop our smart infrastructure having the sustainability as the leading factor in our mind. Which brings us to the fact that the target of this smart infrastructure is a very tangible target, and that is really the integration of all the different elements in a smart city. And we at Schneider Electric, we are developing both each individual part, starting from the smart energy, mobility, everything linked to the handling of water and wastewater, smart public services, and of course, on the consumer side, the smart building and the smart homes. Each individual part is extremely important. The more important is then how these parts are talking to each other, how they are integrated in one single system, and the interdependency of these different parts in order to create the society of tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Okay, I think we got time for maybe a question or two. I wanted to ask, this campus in Berlin you're talking about, where you have this mini smart grid.
Yeah, microgrid.
Yeah, this microgrid. What have you learned?
We learned a lot of things. So because this interdependency between the different elements of the microgrid, let's say, are known theoretically, but it's a completely different to simulate it and to see it really in real life. What we also have learned is we collected a lot of data, which we are now able to work with and to create better models for the future. So this is also one of the big advantages in testing something in a small scale, because with the data which we are collecting, we are improving our own softwares and our management systems. And then we believe that we can repeat it. I talked about scalability. Yeah. That's a little bit the idea with the microgrid also, to create solutions which are scalable and which are applicable directly in other parts.
And you don't see, I mean, maybe you heard the panel discussion before you, the gentleman there said that they don't necessarily see a bottleneck in terms of energy delivery being created by the Energiewende, by leaving nuclear power. Do you agree with that? Is there a grid already in place that can deal with the fact that we do have an Energiewende happening?
Well, I share the fact that we will not have a bottleneck probably on the generation part. This is at least what we can see today. If we are ready really with our smart grid to take care of the Energiewende, I'm not so sure. I believe we are starting. I think we have very nice solutions on the market which are already available, from which we can learn. But I don't think we are there in meaning that we don't have it in a big scale.
All right.
So especially on the demand side, I think it's still a lot of
We've got room for getting smarter.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Any questions? I know we've got one on the Twitter wall. Anything from out there? Okay. Let me ask the question here. Let me see if I can see it. Speaking of smart, Ms. Rodriguez, which smart device was the last you bought for yourself?
Sorry?
Which smart device was the last one that you bought for yourself? Was it a smart meter for your house?
No, it was not a smart meter. It was a smartphone.
Yeah.
Yes. I think it's also a matter of generation. Oh, okay. How smart we want to be, and I'm just at the stage of smartphone. Oh, okay. But when I look at the new generation, when I look to my son, I mean, he's smart all over. Okay. So the amount of devices is really increasing. The fact that I didn't buy a smart meter is because I live in a facility which already has a smart meter.
So you're already smart.
So probably I would have bought a smart meter if I wouldn't have had one.
Okay, yeah. Very good. Ms. Rodriguez, thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, we have a break now for 15 minutes, I've been told. We're going to start back here at 1:30 with the Polish-German ITC Summit. So make sure you come back and join us for that. And don't forget, there are two other stages, the open stage and the power stages, just right around the corner. All right, see you back in 15 minutes.